May I have your attention, please? If you haven't done so at this time, please silence all cell phones and pagers, and please sign in.
Good afternoon. This meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Thursday, July 30th, 2020, and the time is 12:42 p.m. Please call the roll.
Chairman Shahardy?
Here.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Here.
Commissioner Jeffers?
Here.
Commissioner Bircher?
Here.
Commissioner Wood? 4 present and a quorum.
Thank you. There being no old business to take up at this time, I will ask anybody who is here this morning to testify to please stand up and be sworn in as a witness. You can stand in your place. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. It is the Tax Commission's policy to accept all documents into the record that were timely pre-filed in accordance with the Commission's rules and regulations. This will be done at the conclusion of all hearings on today's docket. Accordingly, there is no need to formally offer or introduce the exhibits into the record during your appeal hearing. However, if you intend to object to the submission of any of the opposing parties' exhibits, you must notify the Commission at the start of your appeal hearing. As a reminder, this is an administrative hearing, and as such, the rules of evidence are relaxed. The Commission is inclined to review and consider all evidence submitted and to accept such evidence into the record. All right, we're going to try to take everybody in the order in which they came this afternoon. So the first item we'll take up this afternoon will be item Q on the docket, the appeal of Lori Simmons versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-073. Ms. Simmons? Oh, Mr. Simmons? Okay, all right. Please go ahead to the microphone. I'd ask you to keep your mask on, though. No problem. Take your time. Yeah. I'll ask you, though, to keep your mask on when you're talking to the microphone. You can go ahead.
Mr. Shardy, make this proper. I have a letter here signed by my
I'm sorry,
wife.
you have to talk into the microphone.
I'm sorry. Is this better? Is this better?
It's better, but I need you to wear your
I know,
mask,
but
though.
it's
I'm
just-
sorry. We don't get the governor mad at us.
I understand. Anyway, Exhibit 1, if you want to call it that, is permission from my wife for me to sit here and talk about this.
Okay, I can't understand. Can you?
It's a letter from my wife saying that I could sit here
Oh,
and talk about this.
that's fine.
signed by her.
That's
So I'd
fine.
like to
Yeah.
present that to you.
Not a problem.
Also, I have a couple packets here that are prepared for y'all to look at, but based on,
Yeah, we can't accept anything, any hard copies. You can email it to us when you get home, and we'll make it part of the record.
okay.
But you can go ahead and tell us about it.
All right.
And we're trying to limit everybody to 5 minutes because we
And
have
I'm
so
gonna
many
get
people
started
here.
fast. I might
So you
ramble.
kind of bring it into a synopsis.
I might ramble a little bit, so forgive me.
Okay.
We live at 6555 Milne. We acquired the lot next door to us, 6551, and fenced it off. That's the two subjects of our appeal. 6555 for years, with the present assessor and the past assessor of Orleans Parish, we've complained and showed that our square footage is wrong. They never sent nobody out until this tax ice that this lady came out and seen the house and measured it. I do not know, as of till just a while ago, what the findings were. Because there's a gentleman from the city that called this Jim Makita, and would not, he tried to settle with me one day prior to the last hearing, and I said, how are you determining this? I don't know. All we doing is going by the numbers you wrote down. And I said, okay.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. What number were you trying to settle at?
I wasn't trying to settle at nothing,
Uh-huh.
because prior to the appeal, I had to fill out a form. It was a guesstimation. Did not know how much the square footage was plus or minus in my house. It's on a house. Everything based on, just to back up a little bit, so you understand I have a little knowledge of real estate. For 33 years, I was vice president in charge of corporate development and acquisitions for Al Copeland. Most of the Popeyes, churches, Copelands, and all our concepts, the food manufacturing facilities, I acquired for Al Copeland, plus homes and things. So I kind of know a little bit about it. All I want is apples for apples. If I've got a house 500 feet from me, which I've got, and I will email y'all, that Andy Medina I've known all his life. His father and I are best friends. Went over there and measured his property with them. Looked at his improvements. His house is larger square footage than I. The comparable, he's closed in his garage attached to his house, which we know once you roof it, put walls on it, it's square footage. All right? His outside patio is now closed in, roofed, walls, outside kitchen, TVs, fireplace, you name it. I don't have none of that. He's appraised less than me with the wrong square footage.
All right, let me ask you this. What value do you think we should adopt for your
I
property?
think the land should have been based on land before I even knew y'all were going to 190 a lot. I should have been 160. Now, in that packet I have, just give me a second, I'll look it over.
On your appeal form, I believe you requested $425,000. Is that correct?
No, sir, 485. No, on appeal form.
How much?
The total was 485 on this form. The man from the city of New Orleans came back and says, we'll give you 485. I said, well, how are you breaking it down? 160 for the land and 325 for the building? He says, no.
Okay.
We're going about 190 for the land and 295 for the house.
Okay,
Which I'll
but
accept that, but
is that a number that you're comfortable with? What I'm asking is, if we were to do what you want today on the value of this property on Milne Boulevard, what would that number be?
that number would be 455,000, and I'm happy.
455,000 and you're happy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, based on the information we have, and I'm kind of just looking through it real quick
Yes, sir.
with you and trying to follow you. It appeared that the assessor was trying to settle at 485 because the LTC staff appraiser, the lady that came out and measured your property.
I don't know that for a fact.
Okay,
He
she was
said-
at 425.
No, sir.
We have well, look, we're not concerned about what the assessor did, okay?
Okay.
We have an appraisal from our staff appraiser for $425,000. Is that acceptable? Would that be acceptable to you?
On land and building.
Land and building together, yes.
Doesn't-
That's how we look at it.
It doesn't include the separate lot, though.
No, we haven't got to
No,
that.
we haven't got
That's
there yet.
that's
Okay,
another
just want to make
appeal.
sure we're clear on
No,
that.
that's fine. That's fine. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so on 6555 Milne Boulevard, 425,000 would be an acceptable
Yes,
number.
sir.
Now, we haven't gotten to the lot yet.
No,
That's
sir.
gonna be the next one we talk about.
Now, you want to go to the lot?
No, we gotta
Okay.
keep it, we gotta do one at a,
Okay.
fortunately, we gotta do one at a time. So, why don't you have a seat, and let's hear from our appraiser, and, we'll get that into the record.
Tanya Butler. I appraised the property at 655 Milne. I estimated the total market value at $425,000 with $190,000 in land and $235,000 on the improvements.
All righty.
And it looks like you corrected the square footage to the 2486.
Yes, sir. We measured inside some open areas that were
The
included.
assessor had a higher amount, much higher amount. Okay.
All right, do we have any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Yes, sir, I would move on docket 19-22172-073 that we accept the LTC staff appraisal, set the 2020 value for land at $190,000, improvement $235,000 for a total value of $425,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, so we adopted our appraised value and the value that you were acceptable to. Now, we're going to move to the next one. Item R, appeal of Lori Simmons versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-074. Now, just tell us about this lot.
Again, I go back to apples for apples. Andy Messina's got the same property I've got, and I hate to keep bringing his name up, but that's my comparable, and again, I have permission to discuss this about his property. His father and I went to his house after he discussed it with Andy, and we measured his lot. He had re-subdivided his lot and joined them together. It's a big part of my contention right here. The city, if you had this example here, would see that Andy's I have to get this thing. Andy's lot is less than my lot, and it measures 50 by 155. How I got that was, he's had the four corners of that lot staked by a surveyor. We measured from stake to stake. That's what we came up with. My lot's 50 by 153. No improvements. It's got a shed on it from Home Depot,
How big did you say your lot was, 50 by?
153. Andy's lot is 50 by 155 based on the surveyor's stakes. Andy is re-subdivided, but still, it's 50 feet by 100, or 100 by 155. He's added, which he's connected to his house, a outdoor kitchen that is roofed and sided, that is extremely nice. He's added a garage that wasn't attached, but now is attached and a little bit larger. He's added a RV park, a gazebo, and an in-ground pool to his lot. I don't have none of that. His lot is appraised less than my lot. So if it's 190 for 50 by 155 or 50 by 153, I'm okay with that. But if he's a little bit bigger than me, and he's got all these improvements that now, since he's re-subdivided, goes with his house appraisal, which is less than mine, something ain't right here. So, if whatever it is, I'll go along with it, but damn, give me apples for apples, which appraisers are made for, comparables. That's all I'm saying. I've got a lot with an old wooden fence. He's got a wrought iron fence, swimming pool. I got pictures of all that, plus on my phone.
So what are
So
you
I'll
asking?
send that to you.
What is the value you're asking for?
160.
160?
All right, why don't you have a seat? Let's hear from our appraiser real quick.
I'll get surgery on the leg.
I appraised the property at 6551 Milne for an estimated market value of $304,000, which was $40 a square foot.
Okay. Thank you. Let me look at something real quick.
So is the argument an equity argument?
I
as
guess
far-
it's an equity
as far
argument,
as the
yes.
neighbor?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You want to go ahead and make that?
as I understand, the neighbor has more value or more improvements, but it's only assessed at 190.
It's assessed less than that, it's assessed like 184.
Okay, 184. And it's,
It's 2 inches bigger in my lot,
so it's a little bit bigger.
a little bit larger.
All right.
I got a yard, that's all it is, a yard for dogs. And they-
Because, if we look at fair market value, she's coming up with a higher, $300,000. But if it's an equity argument and we're kind of comparing your neighbor and apples and apples, then I think your argument is, reasonable.
And that's all I'm saying. If I'm wrong, it's 190, we'll make it 190.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the authority to do it, but I understand what you're saying.
My
Yeah,
point is, I don't have all this stuff in the yard.
yeah.
Now the one I, that's all.
The information you said about your neighbor, you're going to email that to us?
I am gonna do that.
Okay, they'll support the 184?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
Docket number 19-22172-074. My motion would be able to set the 2020 valuation at $160,000 for land and land only.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Just please make sure you email us,
So I email it to you.
email it to Ms. Malvo.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you all for coming. Take care. Take care of yourself. All righty. All right, next item on the agenda we'll take up is under item O, the appeal of Coral Mayor versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-039.
Hi, thank y'all for meeting with us today. It's a good feeling to see Mr. Shahardy sitting behind the desk, because I remember you growing up in Orleans Parish.
Yeah.
I'm glad that.
Yeah, we,
your,
we ended up moving to
website says
Metairie,
I'll
so
always
we
be
ended
your
up moving to
voice.
Metairie so my dad could run for DA. But anyway,
Yeah. So, we wanted to make sure y'all have, but first of all, and thank the lady for appraising our house.
This is Coral Mayer. My name is Mary Roll, and I'm a co-owner of the house. And we just wanted to make sure, I think her name is Tanisha. Did you get the
Tanisha.
latest email that was sent by Arthur? We just want to make sure you guys have it. This is basically the state's, when the state appraised the property, the 3 comps were sent in an email. Just want to make sure everybody has that.
Do y'all have it?
We just sent yesterday, so. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna assume that you don't have it, but go ahead, Paul.
So, on the document, well, we started this process like last August of 2019, and I did bunches of research on the Orleans Parish Assessor's website, looking at like 25 properties of my streets, both 100 blocks of Marshall Foch and Germain. Then I looked at all of these houses that were built post-Katrina, that were sold, and I went and looked at their appraisals, and everything was just so uneven and wonky, and we had an increase on our taxes by over more than half, by 58%. So that's why we met with the city. At that time, we showed everything to the city, and they just basically said that they use drones and algorithms to figure out our property taxes. And I was like, oh gee, so, you know.
Nothing wrong with algorithms, you just gotta do it right. That's the problem.
Yeah. And then, you know.
Let me ask you this, what value do you believe your property should be? Land and building
Okay,
total?
well, let me take that one for a minute. Okay. So, on the documentation that the state provided when they came out to appraise the property, they used 3 comps, Tim Black, Steve Roper, and Victor Ford's house at 5852 General Diaz, 870 Chappelle Street, and 6370 Katina Street. Like I said earlier, that was sent to y'all in an email. So on these 3 different comps, the price per square foot, is that what I'm talking about? The building cost.
Right.
Okay, our building cost is $176.46 versus,
Right, he asked us,
no, I know,
Right.
but what I'm saying is, to answer your question, we're finding the same argument that it's not fair across the board, and the same comps that the state used to value our property, it's not apples and apples.
So-
It's $172 a square foot, $105 a square foot, and $130 a
so
square foot.
to answer your direct question, $312,495.
Okay, excuse me, I went up and down Wren Street.
Ren,
Yeah,
that's in the Bird Streets.
I'm
We're
sorry.
we're over in Lakeview.
We're on
I'm
Market
sorry, hold on one
Road
second.
and Germain Street. Okay, so,
I'm sorry.
right.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Okay. Which-
All right, well, go ahead. So you're asking for, what amount are you asking for?
$312,495.
Okay, but I want to bring up one quick point to you guys.
And that is your square footage of living times a certain rate?
Yeah.
How'd you arrive at that?
We came up with the, out of your comps, we took the lowest price per square foot, which is comparable to our house,
On Katina.
which is 105.82 per square foot.
But what we'd like to do is tell you more about what we're going through in Lakeview.
Yeah.
You know, all the crime, breaking into cars, we have to park our cars behind the street, we have boil advisory water.
Yeah,
And
no,
then-
I'm gonna do this part. So, you know, it's hard to live in Orleans Parish, okay? I mean, you know, what she just said. But this is the corner of my house. I live on the corner of Marshall, Foch, and Germain. This is in front of my home, my truck was flooded. This happened within a half an hour. We were at a store, our neighbor was texting us, we couldn't get home in time, and I had $2,000 worth of damage because of the sewage and water board. But here's the issue, again, going back to living in the city of New Orleans, the city tells us, oh, fill out this claim form and you'll get your money back for fixing your car up, which is BS. I went down to the sewage and water board, I met with 2 attorneys, Anthony Stewart and Darrell Harrison, and said, oh, how does this claim process work? We all know that never went into fruition, so we paid all this money out of pocket. And in front of our home, this is a lake, truly Lakeview, every time it floods.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at comps and stuff like that, you're not taking that into consideration.
Right, and I'm getting ready to retire. This will be the largest burden on us with this tax bill, and we built a small home in Lakeview, probably the smallest one, in order to live there and retire and never, ever to sell it. So, I had a COVID emergency on Monday night. My doctor sent me to Turo Infirmary. It came out okay, it was just asthma. If I'm here to ask you to lower my taxes in this COVID fear, that's how serious this is to us.
Right. So, in summary, we just want a fair and equitable price. We just want everything to be fair. The neighbors around us that have 2-story homes have a
They
less
have-
price per square foot than we do.
And they had their taxes lowered, but I
Yeah.
didn't tell them I know about it.
But we had a drone that told them, well, actually,
Yeah.
we thank the state again, because at least they disagreed with the city. So, we thank them for being.
Sure.
Yeah.
In your submission to us, if I can turn the page, you list properties on Marshall Foch Street, from, looks like number 2, I'm
It's
sorry,
2 lots.
6109 through, well,
She's talking.
6014. You have 25 that you, like, I'm trying to summarize it.
Yeah, it's
You have
like-
25 that you listed, and you
Yeah.
have an average, you say on here, an average square foot cost
talking
on
about-
improvements of $145.59 a square foot. Am I-
That was an average
Right,
of all my just on
right,
one block.
right, I understand.
Right.
And then,
And,
you're saying the square footage of your property is 1,512 feet?
yes.
No, actually.
Nothing.
That's
And
what you have on your
then I
form.
also did another average on
Okay.
the homes that were sold too.
Okay.
That's all the paperwork that I sent to the city.
Okay, but what is the square footage of your,
It was,
The city had
the
it.
city has it at 1512.
so,
6,100 Marshall phone? Talking about living? I have 1646.
well, I don't, that may have come off of the, where's our appraiser on this property? What square footage do you have for that property, and where did you get it?
6 based upon, as measured by the tax commission.
You measured it?
I know one of the other field appraisers did.
Okay,
We didn't, they didn't come in the house, and we have porches in
Yeah.
the front and the back.
okay. Well, they wouldn't include the porches, am I correct?
Yeah, so there are, let's see, separately scaled, porch and patios, 283 square foot, storage and garage, 459 square foot.
And living area?
Yeah, GLA, 1,646.
That's what he came up with? And, 140.
So that does not count like that.
That's the heated area there.
The garage is open, it's not.
That's
in-
Yeah, well, that would not be included in the
It's
living
carport.
area.
Okay, so the city had it wrong.
So the city had it 1512, and y'all got it at 1646?
Which is
Correct.
what has been on our,
And, let's see.
So is there a certain price per square foot, including land, that you would assign to that?
well, the land's gonna be the same for everyone,
Yeah.
but what
Yeah.
we're saying is, from the state's appraisal,
Okay,
we'd like the lowest out of these three. These are comparable properties, you know,
At 105.
why wouldn't we want the lowest?
So I mean, this is just, we're just discussing
Sure.
property, the house. We can't discuss land, is that separate?
Well, we're looking at
Lands
the
is
total
set.
value of the property, just the total value. So,
but-
yes, on the one hand, we need to, the land hopefully is correct, but at the end of the day, it's the value of the whole property that really counts,
Right.
in your
Why is
case.
that
so
land?
you think your value's around 325,000?
300, we'd like 312.
Well,
But that's
at
based
the
on
lowest
taxing
rate,
law.
That's based on,
Right,
at the revised
Same.
square footage,
Yeah, he's basing it on.
you put it at 172,830 plus the land of 152,500, is 325,
so how much? you saying?
325?
325,000.
Okay. He increased the square footage based on the city's
And that's the
error.
total?
That's the total.
Yes, ma'am.
That, according to what you're suggesting
Correct.
Right.
on price per
Correct.
square
With-
foot.
With the corrected
I'm not
square
saying that's what it's
footage.
gonna be,
Right.
but that's what,
Right. With
that's
the
what you're
corrected square
suggesting.
footage.
Okay, so we're going from that to that, on total,
Okay.
including the land?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But like I said earlier, and showing pictures of my truck, I mean, this is, doesn't matter how many houses sell and how many houses you compare.
Are you in a low part of that street?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, sir. It's
You know, some of the
floods every
streets in
time.
New Orleans do dip down.
So we're on
What's
a
that?
corner,
So you
and
emailed
and literally, the four corners flood into a lake. I mean, and we had a neighbor who literally took a P-Rod to get from the front to the back of our house. I mean, it happens every time it floods.
It's flooded, yeah, it floods.
So there's some
All right.
impairment on the drainage where you
No, I
are.
think
It's not
I
drainage.
think it's because, it's a new street, they paved, well, Marshall Foch isn't paved well, but the side street that comes off of Canal Boulevard and goes to, I think there's drainage under there that's going over to the Orleans pumping station.
Okay,
So I think everything's coming down Germain and going to the pumping station by 610 and Orleans Avenue.
mm-hmm,
And I think we're just in the brunt of it.
I
I
mean-
mean, it comes up fast.
This was 30 minutes.
And it didn't, that was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the water didn't go down
Okay.
to 2 a.m.
All right, let me ask you this. You cited the average value for improvements of approximately $145 a square foot. If we multiply that times the square footage
Wait, can I get a
that,
calculator?
that our staff appraiser has, I come up with a value for the improvements of $238,670,
Hold on.
if I'm doing my
That's
my
right.
arithmetic correctly.
I thought she said 105 was her,
The average building cost on this spreadsheet that she furnished is $145 a square foot.
Correct, sir, but.
So I multiplied, check my math. I mean, it's not an insult if you find out I'm wrong. $145 a square foot times 1,646 square feet comes up to $238,670.
Well, the 145 just shows you, okay, at the time I did the 145 average, was my block, and all of these houses weren't fighting their taxes.
Okay, but
So-
you're making an equity argument.
When at the time,
And you're-
I was 172.
You are $176 a foot
Right.
based on what you submitted to us.
Right.
You're making an equity argument. Your neighbors are averaging out at $145 a foot. And there's only one, looking at this very quickly, there's only one whose price per square foot is more than yours on your
Okay.
list. So what I'm
I-
asking is, 1,646 square feet times $145 a foot is a value of $238,670. We add the value of the land, $152,500, for a total value of $391,170.
But you gave your original figure.
So you're not
325.
using the state appraisal
No.
comps?
No, I'm not. I'm using the
Why,
I'm
why
using,
wouldn't you?
You're using-
Well, it's more.
Using the
I mean-
information you gave.
I'm using the
Yeah,
information you
that
gave
was
me.
to the city.
That was to the city, that was to start.
Then you came out and increased
I
that
don't care
square
what the city,
footage.
I don't care what the city says.
Well,
Okay,
that's-
but-
that's
Okay.
the city's.
But that was
Our
information we
staff, our
submitted.
staff appraisal is $384,000. Is that the number that you all would like?
No, we are trying to get it lower than the appraiser based on the fact that they are not taking into consideration the flooding and the fact that their
Okay.
comps do not match, apples and apples.
We have one
Their
house
own
at
She
comps
was,
are
105.
she was at 312 with the revised square footage. Her calculation brings it to 325. However,
When were they at 312, last year?
well, she's taken the 105.82 as the price per square foot on the improvements, which y'all indicate is the lowest of the comps that the state used on our appraisal. Now, I don't know how you
I don't think you can pick
derived
them,
that.
I don't think you can pick the appraisal apart like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the appraisal just has gross of land in improvements.
Well, we took out a calculator, that's how we did it. We sent this to you yesterday, and these are,
You took the land out or something?
so one and,
You can't, I think Chairman Shahart is correct, though, you can't, pick and choose the comps that's on the appraisal. The appraisal's gotta stand on its own, and maybe what you need to do is listen to the appraiser and then pick him apart. I'm not telling you how to do this, but, that may be a better approach than, you're trying to do an equity argument, and you're also trying to say the appraisal is wrong and give us some reasons why it's wrong. Now, one thing that's, I think, throwing everybody off, you thought when you came here, your house was 1,500 and some square feet, and it's really 1,600 square feet.
Right.
So we need to make sure we're all using the same number. I think the number that now we know is correct is 1,646. Do we all agree on that?
yes,
Okay.
okay. My,
I agree that the city did everything wrong.
Okay. But
And we're trying to fix it.
So I guess.
we're
if
not
I-
challenging the appraisal, we're asking for the added consideration of the flooding and the fact that it's not apples and apples on the 3 properties that the state used to value our property.
You have one at 130, one at 172, and one at 105.
And that's from taking a calculator to
All right,
the
well,
Orleans Parish website.
I'm looking at the gross living area. I'm looking on sale 1, it's 222.93. And the next one's 254.18. Then you have 202.78. So if I threw out sale number 2, because it looks like it's maybe a slight outlier, I'm not really sure. In average, the other 2, it may be more like around 350. And just kind of thinking out loud. If you look at the square footage, 222.93 and the 202.78. But there's really no way we can get to 312 or 325,
That's new.
All right, well, look,
Are we gonna
it's not really a negotiating session. Let's go ahead and hear from our appraiser,
Okay.
Mr. Bennett, and see
we're
what he
gonna
has
let
to
him
say.
talk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I personally appraised the property for $384,000 with an undisputed land value of $152,500 and an improvement value of $231,500. 3 comparables were used in the market approach. They were weighted evenly based upon their individual similarities, comparable to being a superior in condition, but was included to represent the subject's in-ground pool.
Where were these positioned, these comps, as far as, on the street? It's obvious from the photos, they have a flooding issue in that area. Was it an apples to apples with that, or were you able to
As-
gather that information?
There's really, this property was inspected by different tax commission field appraisers.
They did the field work? Okay.
Yeah, they did the field work, and then whenever the pandemic shut everything down, that workload was redistributed
Okay.
out. So I don't have the privilege of seeing the actual lay of the land to see if it is a low spot as compared to the
Okay.
other, comparables.
All right, any other questions?
Chairman, I think I can entertain a motion.
Okay,
My approach will be to eliminate cell number 2, average cell 1.7, and cell 3, and then also take in consideration the drainage issue, flooding issues in that particular part of the street. My motion would be to set the land at $152,500, the improvements $197,500 for a total of $350,000.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right. He's an attorney.
Get right there, yeah.
All right, the next item on the docket.
Good luck.
Next item on the docket, item C, the appeal of Val Cupid versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-049.
Good morning, rather, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Charles Emile Bruno, Jr. I am here representing Ms. Val C. Cupid, who is sitting to my right, representing her on a pro bono basis. Her family home where she lives is at 6825 General Diaz Street. 3 years ago, she finally had the opportunity to purchase the lot next door to her, which for years the city's mothers and fathers have said, we need more green space, it's drainage space, it doesn't utilize city services. So, she bought it for $110,795.03. The property was assessed at $109,800 at $18 per square foot. Now, she has no intention whatsoever to sell this property. She has planted numerous trees on the property. She has a little vegetable garden. Can't qualify it as farmland because it's too small. It's at 6,100 square feet. But her assessment was increased by 37%, of by $42,700. I submit to you that that's incorrect, it's unjust, and it's unconstitutional. First of all, from a constitutional standpoint, the Constitution of the United States of America, 14th Amendment, says no state shall deprive any of its citizens of the equal protection of the law. Louisiana Constitution provides that no citizen shall be deprived of equal protection of the law. Yet the properties in Lakeview were assessed to the absolute max, while other sections of the city were just totally and completely ignored. Now, Lakeview is a nice place to live. I live there, a lot of people live there. It's a nice upper middle class area. But it's not 1630 Valmont Street, uptown. It's got 115,204 square feet lot at $19 a square foot, which of course wasn't reassessed. Nor is it comparable to some of the properties on Bancroft Drive, such as 4418 and 4564 Bancroft Drive, both of which are Bayou St. John frontage lots. Beautiful view of a beautiful scenic river system, body of water, with a vista onto City Park. Those lots, $18 a square foot. So it's a failure to treat equally all people with respect to valuations.
And in particular,
Because you have valued, yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Bruno. What drew my attention was in your, the documents that you presented.
Yes, sir.
You talked about other lots being at $18 a foot in that immediate area, which raises the equity question.
Right, there's a lot on Fillmore,
Yeah.
which is 2 blocks from Ms. Cupid's house, that I believe is assessed at it's 1 block, she says, at $18 a square foot. That's at 860 Fillmore.
It's a vacant lot.
Yeah, and this is a vacant lot that we're talking about.
Right.
It's an undeveloped lot. It's not a lot for sale, or at least it wasn't. Now, by having this done, where you only do a part of the city, is contrary. It's not only a denial of equal protection, but it's contrary to the provisions of the Louisiana Constitution and Title 47, Section, I believe it's 1987, that says that all property shall be reassessed at the same time. And they just flat
You don't do it.
didn't do it. Now, why they didn't do it, I don't know. Why Lakeview was singled out? Well, I don't know that either, but it certainly was. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the factors that are not considered in the appraisal process. And I've looked at the appraisals from the Tax Commission, and let me tell you, I understand them using a drone because it's impossible to drive on the 6800 block of General Diaz Street. Now, this cookie cutter approach to every lot in Lakeview being worth the same thing is just not true, because you don't take into consideration other factors that are involved. Okay. it fails to differentiate between a lot that is utilized for green space and is an integral part of someone's home, and a lot that's going to be sold. That should be considered. Corner lots are valued at the same per square foot as an interior lot, and that's wrong, because a corner lot has more exposure, and because it has more exposure, it has more value, more site. A boulevard lot is valued at the same. Now, I live on a boulevard, okay? Boulevards have better streets, although the street I live on is not a particularly good street, but it's a lot better than most. They have neutral grounds that usually have foliage on them, and the boulevard lots are larger lots. They're more in depth. They're 147 feet deep as distinguished from 120 or 122 feet deep. So that would change the valuation methodology. Furthermore, you have green space. It's below sea level. If you're going to build on it, or if you have built on it, you've either raised it or your house was high enough after the storm that you didn't have to raise it. But if you're going to use a for sale value, then the for sale value has to take into consideration that a lot that doesn't have 8 feet of fill to bring it to sea level, or numerous pilings on which to build a house. Now, also, you have Lakeview and West Lakeview, separated by 2 boulevards and a beautiful park. It's a linear park, 300 square feet, 300 feet wide by 1.5 miles long, between Lakeview and West Lakeview. That's a misnomer. That is one community. They have the same civic association, the same crime prevention district. The shopping areas are all the same. The restaurants are all the same. It's one community. But the prices are different. Again.
Let me ask you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting you.
That's all right.
You're basically asking us for a value of $110,000, just rounded?
Yes, sir. Or an increase based on the consumer price index, which is 6% over the
Right,
3
okay.
years.
So, at $110,000, I know I'm comfortable with doing that.
Okay.
Hopefully the commissioners are comfortable too.
You said that street hasn't been redone, so you
Oh,
still have the first.
I was
It's
going
a
to tell you
roller
about
coaster,
the
huh?
street. That was my next point, if I
Yeah,
can.
what I'm getting to is, you may have won your argument.
Okay, I hear you.
So, you
I
may
hear
not,
you.
as I've told other folks, don't talk yourself out of it.
Mr. Shihadi, I learned a long time ago, both in courtrooms, in administrative hearings, and in the presence and in the legislature, that
Right.
you can out-talk yourself. All I wanted to say is that this is one of the worst streets in Lakeview. They ought to call it General Disaster Street. And
Now,
with
let
that,
me tell you, I don't
let-
understand how the folks in Lakeview on those streets tolerate it. I'm not saying you do tolerate it, but I don't know how, I couldn't live like that. I mean,
It's
a
very
sin.
difficult.
It's a sin.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
And people in Lakeview pick themselves up by their own bootstraps, which is something that most other people in the city of New Orleans did not do.
Yeah.
So
All right.
with that, I will
Thank you.
conclude. I had a lot more to say, but I understand.
If something deviates from what we just said, you'll have the microphone back.
Ms. Cooper
Okay.
just wants to make
Yeah.
a very brief statement.
Sure, sure.
Hi, I'm Val Cupid. I'm not used to talking with these things over my. over
Neither are we.
Yeah. I just wanted to tell y'all, thank you for having this hearing. I didn't really know about it. Pepe, introduced me to come up here because we did appeal to the parish of Orleans, and it just fell on deaf ears. So I do appreciate you all. I did buy the lot in 2016 with some negotiation with the guy who owned the lot next door to me, who was a dear friend of mine. And I fully intend on keeping it green. I just wanted to make a point. Some lots that people have or they buy it for different reasons. This will not be sold. I will not put any improvements on it. There's no drainage. There's no electricity. I don't put a tennis court or a pool. It's green space for me to piddle around with all my trees and my 2 avocado trees, my 2 fig trees, and plant a vegetable garden. It gives me something to do. I make under $50,000 a year. I'm trying to retire. I guess you've heard that before. And this, burden of this tax increase on just a blank piece of property that has no potential of income, I really appreciate you all with your considerations. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from our appraiser, Mr. Lowry. Y'all, why don't y'all just have a seat? I don't want to have 2 chairs together, but,
That's okay, I can stand.
yeah, no, I don't want you to stand.
I can stand.
No, I don't want you to stand. Mr. Lowry, go ahead.
I inspected the property at 6831 General Diaz, vacant lot. Came to an estimated fair market value of $244,000 or $40 a square foot.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Wagasback, I believe you may have a motion.
Yeah, taking into consideration the taxpayer's representative presenting the equity argument, and due to the street conditions, my motion would be to set the land value at $110,000, no improvements, for a total valuation of $110,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all.
Be careful. Bye-bye.
Hmm? All right, the next item on the agenda that we're going to hear is item P, as in Peter.
She's in the restroom, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, she is, okay. Well, let's go to M. Item M. Greg Guardiol, am I saying that correct? Yes. All right. Hold on one moment now, I gotta do this legal. No, you can come to the microphone. All right, item M, the appeal of Greg Guardiol versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-026. All right.
I'll take this off,
Not really. If you just get close to the microphone.
whatever you guys want.
I don't want the governor to get mad at us like I told the other folks.
Okay.
All right. It's your appeal, so please go ahead.
Okay, I think that first we have to agree that tax assessment should be fair and reasonable and equitable across the board. I assume that you guys feel that way. I'm appealing the the building valuation for my property at 4547 Dove Street in Lake Vista in New Orleans. The land value is fair and equitable. Everybody in Lake Vista got assessed at $25 a square foot. There's no way you could possibly argue with that. I'm perfectly good with the land valuation. Do you all have the spreadsheet that I emailed Jeff Crosby?
We
That's the
have
penciled spreadsheet here?
pencil.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can you read it?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I own a 2-family home, and I compared 10 other 2-family homes in Lake Vista. The percent difference that you see is the difference between the 2019 and the 2020 building valuation. Mine went up 149%. You can see these other 10 range from 5, who had a negative valuation change, from minus 24% to the maximum of 62%. I got 149%. I think that's ridiculous. My house is 80 years old. It was the first house built in Lake Vista. It was built by the Orleans Parish Levy Board as a model home to encourage developers to build homes there. I propose that you sum the 10 percentage changes, you get 92%, you divide by 10, you get 9% is average increase in valuations for 2-family homes in Lake Vista. Multiply that times my 2019 valuation, $170,670, you get right at $186,000. Add that to the land valuation of $187,500, you get $373,500, which I propose as the assessed valuation for 47 Dove Street.
Well, unfortunately, we're not here looking at the rate of increase. We're
How can mine go up
trying to arrive at
149%?
a fair market value and an equitable valuation. And how much something else went up or down, you know, their property may have been more accurately valued or less accurately valued, and the rates of increase can vary among the properties. What we're really looking at is what is the fair market value of the properties. On your spreadsheet, you have the fourth column, it says square feet.
Yes,
Okay, the next column says dollars per square foot,
yes.
and
That's the 2020 building valuation divided by the square foot for that property.
okay, so it's the, on the first one, it would be 424,800 divided by 3,915 for $108.51. Am I reading that correctly?
That's correct. But actually, that 3915, Jeff Crosby pointed out, that should be 3665 because that includes a garage.
That's correct.
Okay. So what should it be?
3665.
So that would change that number to what?
Yeah, I prepared this 10 months ago, so
Yeah,
I'm a
no
little
problem.
rusty on it.
So what does that do?
But if you look at that, mine is $108.51, and it varies down to $41.91. And that house at Egret Street, I'm very familiar with. It's not that different. My house is not worth 2.5 times more than that house.
All right, I need to try to understand what you're showing here.
Okay, the first column, the lower number is the 2019 building valuation by the New Orleans Parish Assessor.
Okay,
The upper number is the 2020, is the change that I'm protesting here today. Okay, the percent differential column is the difference, is the percentage increase of the 2020 value compared to the 2019 value.
so let me ask you this, the one below that on Wren Street,
Yes,
the 167.6, that's the value for 2020?
yes it is.
And the number below that, 209,500,
Yes,
was the value in 2019?
yes, they're,
On the improvements?
yes, on the building.
On the building,
The
right,
building
okay.
valuation. The building, they went down 20%,
Okay.
the value of that construction.
I noticed there's only one other one on Dove Street.
Yes.
When you looked at it, were there others on Dove Street that were closer to yours, or was there a big variation? Is the other one that you chose on Dove Street, it appears that Dove Street's the highest. Yours at 149, and the one that you listed at 62%.
Right, there's nothing special about Dove Street compared to any
There's
other.
nothing. It's
No.
just, so
No.
the other ones on Dove Street, were they in between? You said a minute ago yours was the highest,
Yes.
okay? You know.
Those were,
the-
those are the next two highest, if you look at those. But there's nothing different between Dove Street or any of the streets in Lake Vista. You know, I don't know why the two on Wren Street went down 20%.
I mean, what it would imply is that yours was underassessed. You know, before, if you look at that in the Pierce, you know, and I don't know if that's actually the case.
I don't either, but.
Well, if you just look at the two on Dove and average the square foot, price per square foot, it's around, what, $81 or so?
Right.
Maybe a little less.
The one at 1012 Dove Street is in really bad condition. It's that really old type of stucco that when it starts falling apart, it just keeps going.
Well,
It's-
which one of these is more like yours, the 3032 Dove?
Of those two, I guess, but, I mean,
So-
why are you only focused on Dove Street?
Well, because we're trying to get it very close in proximity. Where is
Cra-
Rent,
Cra-
right next door?
Crane Street is one street over. Egret Street is one street over.
Well, I'll
Ren
tell you
Street
why
is
I'm-
around the corner.
I'm trying to actually, look at this in a real open-minded way. And if I was doing this and I was doing an equity argument on my street, I would have listed all of them on my street. If you said earlier I was the highest, I'm implying that meant you were the highest on Dove Street.
No.
Or highest on.
In Lake Vista.
Highest on,
Lake
in Lake,
Vista-
in the whole subdivision.
Lake Vista is a 750
So you're the highest in the whole
home
subdivision.
subdivision.
Okay.
And in that subdivision, I don't know, there's maybe 25 two-family homes in the whole subdivision. So, and these ones are pretty, I know these are doubles, just from walking around the neighborhood. So I'm familiar with the neighborhood, so I went on the website and
Okay.
hit the valuations for these for comparison, and I was shocked when I saw the difference.
I understand now. Okay. I missed that first.
See, nobody's built a double in Lake Vista probably for 65 years. The last 30 years, they've been tearing down everything and building McMansions. So there's not a lot of two-family homes in Lake Vista. And as I said, my house is the oldest house in Lake Vista. It was built in 1940 by the levee board after the WPA turned over the land that they'd reclaimed from Lake Pontchartrain to the levee board.
Somebody can correct my math or double check me, but when I look at the price per square foot that you have listed here, I added them up, and a little bit of rounding going on, but I added them up. I believe there's like 10 of them.
I
10 of them. I come up with a value of about $64.40.
I see where you're going. I also added up all the square footages. You get 30,592, divide that by 10, and then I added up all the costs per square foot. I added up all the square feet, divided what did I do? Wait. Anyway, I came up with a dollar, if you don't like that price, yeah, you could do $62 a square feet, which is what I came up with.
$64.40 a square foot times 3,665 square feet, I think is what we said, for a
Yeah.
value on the improvements of $236,000. Add the cost of the land, $187,500, and I come up with $423,500.
That's the same thing I came up with, Chairman.
Well, if you add up all the square feet, what did I do? Okay, I did this I'll accept this also. I added up all the 2020 valuations, and that came to $1,907,000. Divide that by 10, it's an average of $190,700. I added up all the square feet, and I got an average of 3060. I divided those two averages, and I got $62.32 a square foot.
Yeah, I just used an average of the
64 is
square feet,
close.
$64 a foot, but I come up with $423,000.
And that's using your information.
That's right.
423 is what you came up with?
I came up with 423, I'm not telling you.
Yeah, I confirmed those numbers. I
423,
calculated.
okay.
It's been audited and certified. So it's equity argument.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I don't know how.
And it's the fact that, it appears to me it's the fact that it's a double
Right.
versus a lot of the
Well-
reassessments may have been single family.
Yeah, just for your information, because I'm familiar with Dove Street, I went through and I wrote down, you don't have this because it's irrelevant, I guess, but there's 30-some-odd houses on Dove Street, and the valuations per square foot range from $191.81 down to $111 a square foot. And there's a lot of new houses that have been built there, and you think those might be valued the highest, right? They're not. The highest valuations in that range are all older houses. So,
What was your total assessment on this last year, or 2019?
the total was about $327,000. And again, my argument's with the improvement
Yeah.
assessment, not the land. I think they're
So-
fair and equitable in that.
So based on the other 10 properties you presented that are two-family homes, like we just said, if we took those and averaged them out, came up with $64, I think 28 cents, times your correct square footage of 3,665, adding that to the land would be around 423,000. Does that sound equitable?
Can we make it 400 to round it off?
Well,
I'm gonna get it, I get an
we-
age freeze next
If
year.
you're making an equity argument and we take the information you gave us, that's,
yeah, we have to support it with evidence when we
Yeah,
make a
we have to be
decision.
able to support what we do,
Yeah.
Well,
so.
I hear what you're saying, and it would sound reasonable based on the increase from a 4-year period, but it may have just been that you were set a little low in prior years.
by the
what
way,
it looks like.
on you guys' assessment, if you look at the reconciliation analysis, the written amount is $377,000. That's not what the numerical value is. So,
Where are you talking about?
the very last sheet of the assessment, of the tax commission's assessment. The reconciliation analysis. You look at what's written out
Yeah,
in
the
words
written-
and letters,
the
it's
written- The written
307.
words are incorrect, but it's 500,000 is what it
Yeah,
is.
if you add the money.
And
add it up.
we're not talking 500,000, so. All right, let's hear from our appraiser, Mr. Bennett.
I personally appraised the property at $500,000. The undisputed land value was $187,500 with an improvement value of $312,500. This was derived using the market approach and confirmed with the income approach. Also note that there were no recent sales of multifamily properties in Lake Vista, so we did have to go over to Lakeview to find sales.
Okay.
But we did research dated sales and kind of use those to develop a baseline for the neighborhood and for our site/location adjustments.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, I'm prepared to make a motion. Based on an equity argument for comparable properties in the area, I move that we adopt a land value for 2020 of $187,500, a value for improvements of $236,000, for a total value of $423,000.
I
Second.
think there's a
Commissioner-
little error there. Maybe it should be 235,500?
423,500.
Oh, 20,
Well, we can, yeah, I was rounding off. I certainly not opposed to amending my motion to,
We can round down further. If you want.
what,
I thought you wanted a total of 423 is what you
I'm
said.
saying a total of 423,000, 236,000 on the improvements, and what was the land? Land's 187.5, yeah.
So
We'll have to
two-
do that 187.5 on land. Let me
230.
amend my motion. Land at $187,500, improvements $236,000, for a total value of $423,500.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much, I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Next.
All right, next item on the agenda, item N, the appeal of Kristen Van Meerveld, Orleans versus Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-034. It's
Good
a
afternoon,
taxpayer
thank you.
appeal, so please go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody's been sworn in, I assume, Mr.
Yes.
Hoffman?
What's the number again? I'm sorry.
Item N
N,
on the
okay.
docket.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I am here specifically disputing the improvement value given to my assessment. My house consists of 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's only 1,650 square feet. And I had 2 appraisals done. The first I did for myself in August of 2019 when I got the new 2019 assessment from Orleans Parish. And the property assessment was, or the building assessment was at $63,000. The Louisiana Tax Commission assessor appraised the building at $95,000. And Orleans Parish Orleans Parish Assessors has valued the building at $279,800. So almost, I mean, it is 3 times more than even the Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal, which was the higher of the 2. So today I am requesting that my total property, including the land and building value, be assessed at $376,300. This reflects the land assessment of $281,300 by the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office and the building value of $95,000, which is the higher of the 2 appraisals. In my appeal packet, I gave some comparables. I first did an analysis of 15 houses on Wren Street. I know that I've lived there for 8 years, so I'm familiar with these homes. So I did a comparison of houses by the square footage of the properties and the assessments by Orleans Parish. And based on the 15 houses on my immediate street, my assessment at calculated at $169.17 per square foot is the highest on my street. And you can see there is a great disparity in the assessments of properties just on that, in my 1 block of Wren Street, ranging from $169, which is mine, which is the highest, to the lowest, which is about $20. And one of my comparisons is a duplex, 2-family home, which the gentleman before me also used in his analysis, where the property value decreased from 2019 to 2020. And in fact, that house, which is more than double the size of mine, is assessed for $100,000 less. And my house, I just wanted to add and point out that I've had no major improvements done on my house since they haven't been in many years. And so if I were to sell this property, it would be considered, most likely be considered a tear down. There are a number of major improvements that would be required. So in looking at the comparisons, I mean, they're self-explanatory, the range of values per square footage. The ones on my street that my house is more in line with, based on the size, the age, and the condition of the home, I've listed on page 2 of my letter, they would be 41 Wren, 14, 29, and 21. And you can see that those square footages are much lower than the 169 that mine was assessed at.
I went in and looked at Wren Street. I'm over here.
Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
looked at Wren Street, and I pulled just up and down the street about 14 different properties. When I looked at the improvement value per square foot, I came up with an average on those 14 properties of about $99 a square foot and a median value of $110 a square foot. So what I also found, which is interesting, is that your home is 34 Wren?
Yes.
Am I correct? Okay.
Correct.
It appears that the assessor reduced this value for 2021. Have you seen that?
I did not see that for
Okay. All right.
2021, no.
He reduced it down to $448,900. If somebody can double check what I'm saying, go online to the assessor's website, and certainly do that. He did reduce it from the higher number, the number that you were citing, which, and look, we're dealing with 2020, okay?
Right.
I'm just bringing that up.
Right.
So it would seem to me that somewhere, if we're gonna say, comparable, I also looked at other properties that had a similar square footage to your property, and there I came up with a number that I don't have in front of me. But I came up with approximately, certainly under $100 a square foot. I can refine the number in a few minutes, which is considerably, it's less than, obviously less than 2020, and even less than what it's been reduced to for 2021. So I guess my first question to you is, I mean, you were suggesting a value of $376,300.
Yes.
I can see getting even lower than the $448,900 maybe, that it's gonna be there for, possibly be there for next, am I correct?
Yes, that's the correct
Okay.
number for 2021.
Next year, I don't know how we get down to $376,000 though.
Well, I'm using Orleans' assessment of the land
Mhm.
plus the higher of the two appraisals, which the Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser did at 95,000. And those two numbers come to 376,300. That's where I got that
You're
number.
saying 95,000. I mean, you can't break,
Well, what she's doing is,
you can't break apart the appraisal. The appraisal is a combination of all three comparables. So it's not like you can just take one comparable and pick it out and say, oh, I'm going to use that one. You really have to look at all the comparables together.
Okay, but even looking at all the comparables, my house being assessed at $169 a square foot, where the others are averaging $112 a square foot, is still so far.
Right, but just based on what the assessor was doing for 2021, it's $108.41, so it's less than the number that you're citing.
So, Mr. Chairman, you came up with a $99 average,
Yeah, I came up,
utilizing all the Wren properties?
yeah, I took those 14 properties and had an average value of $99.40
For improvements only?
for improvements only, right. So we multiply that times the square footage of the improvements, that's, what, 154,600, I'm rounding because I'm doing it on top of my head, 154,600 plus the land value.
So that's roughly $435,900.
That's correct.
part of the issue, it appears that the LTC staff appraisal on the land, and I know we're talking about whole value here, but
Yeah.
I think what the taxpayer is doing is looking at the parish board review or the assessor's land value,
Mhm.
And if you compare it to the last, I mean, it's in the same subdivision as the last one, right?
Yes.
And that one was at $25 a square foot. Her land value's greater than that, unless I'm doing the math wrong.
Kind of picking the lowest of the two.
Yeah. But, you know, based on what I just discussed,
Yeah.
you know, I was looking at this average value, which was approximately $100 a square foot, times the improvement value, and then plus the value that the assessor has on the land, which I'm guessing is probably on the low side. But
It's at
we
$30.
use that anyway,
Yeah.
you know, since that's the common value that's probably being used.
Anything about your property that, as far as any type of inferior quality or deferred maintenance? I mean, our appraisal says it's in very good condition,
Well.
or average quality.
It's average or below average. And I love my home, but.
Because they weren't able to personally inspect the inside, right?
Right, right. But the house has had no major improvements. It was built around 1950. The windows are original. The wood is cracking. They're single paned. It's a very drafty home. It needs insulation. The kitchen needs to be updated. Anybody buying a house in Lake Vista they would tear this house down. I love this house. It's my
Yeah.
home, but it's a tear down. It's not falling apart. I maintain it, but I'm not replacing the windows. The house, the exterior of the house, just by nature of the trees and plants and planting for generations before I moved into this house, the soil level is higher than the slab, and so it has created moisture damage to the exterior of the house all around. I've had to cut and replace sheetrock inside the house due to moisture damage and mildew.
'Cause it looks like a small house in comparison to the size of the lot.
The
So,
lot is larger than average, than the average is slightly larger. It is a nice sized lot, and the house is small. So yes, it does look.
because even our comps have, you know, larger homes, 2,100, 2,400, 2,400. It's kind of hard to compare. And that may have just been what's available in that area. It looks like your house is an outlier as far as size, smaller.
I had both appraisers tell me it was difficult to find comparables
What was
for
the
my
total
house.
appraised value that your appraiser gave you in 19?
The-
I think you just gave us the improvements. What was the total value?
He assessed, and so the fair market value that he provided was $470
In August of 19?
in August of 19. And in fact, the Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser also came up with the fair market value.
So they're putting the weight of it mostly on the land value. I mean, that's,
Yeah,
the
land-
bulk of what
right.
you have is land.
But the Orleans Parish is taking that difference between what they're assessing the land and they're attaching it to the house value. And
Correct.
so part of my dispute is that as Orleans Parish starts to assess the land values more in line with the fair market value, if my house is appraised for $200,000 more than what it's really worth, then my whole property assessment is always going to be skewed to a greater number than it should be, because as they equalize that value, I'm going to have this additional amount attached to my house.
So the $470,000 value, is that a number, just the overall number, is that a number that you're comfortable with?
No, if I were to sell my house today, I would not get $470,000. The land, I could sell it for the land, and the house would be a tear down.
So our staff appraisal says the land's worth $375,000. What's your,
Well, that's what the Louisiana tax appraiser came up with that number. The appraisal that I hired, the appraiser that I got in 2019, he valued the land, I believe it was 400 or 407. It was right around 400.
And what was the overall, and the overall value he gave you was 470,000?
Yes, both.
So if we value your land at 400,000 and 70,000 on the improvements, that 470,000 is the number you're comfortable with?
No, it's not. And
Okay,
again,
but you said that's your appraiser gave you that.
that was the fair market value. Yes, with
Okay.
both the land and the house. And I am disputing, I'm not disputing, I'm disputing the improvement amount that Orleans Parish assessed to my house.
Okay, but we're not, that's not what I asked. If your appraiser told you the fair market value of your property, land and building, is $470,000. 400,000 on the land, 70,000 on the improvements. Are those numbers that, if that were your assessed basis for your assessed value,
No, the assessor has appraised.
I'm not, no,
Sorry.
forget the assessor. He's not here. Are you comfortable if this commission adopts a value of 400,000 on land, 70,000 on improvements, for a total of $470,000 in line with the appraisal that you got in 2019?
I am not.
Okay. I hope you didn't pay that appraiser very much. I mean, I'm trying to understand.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
T did actually confirm that the assessed value for 2021 has been reduced to $448,900.
Right, that's correct.
So if you it now, we
Which is
haven't
kind
seen
of,
it.
which is kind of more in line with the approach we had earlier,
Right.
attaching the $99 improvement square footage average to the land value would be around 436,000.
Which basically takes the land value at 281,300 and puts an improvement value of approximately 167,000. Or, because we're looking at whole value, or you can take your.
Why are you looking at whole value on this property when it's not taken on the other properties?
Well,
I mean, when you look at the square footage, my house is being valued at a much higher assessment than other properties. Because when you're looking at $169 a square foot for the building, as opposed to 20 for my neighbor, or 40 for another neighbor, or 112 for another neighbor, on newer, more improved homes, my property is being assessed at a higher amount. And there's a difference between fair market value and the assessor's numbers, because the Orleans Parish assessor is valuing the land all the same based on the size. So there's no variation there. But the difference.
So again, if you're comfortable with the land, and we took the average of all the other 14 values on rent and came up with that $99 average times your square footage, it puts you around 436,000. And I know that's not where you want to be, but that of course is close. It's just a little, $12,000 less than what the assessor moves it to for 2021.
So you're offering.
Well, I'm just saying that's another methodology to arrive at evaluation, taking the improvement values of all those that are already assessed up and down your street. The average, the homework that Mr. Hardy did was the average is $99 and some change per square foot. That times your square footage arrives at 281,300. Adding that, I'm sorry, 154,600. Adding that to the 281,300 land would be roughly $436,000.
and you are correct on there being a difference between assessed value and market value, because we all know sitting here that the land right now, it appears to me, to be underassessed.
Correct.
based on everybody's analysis.
How do I do that? So in your proposed amount of 435, I don't understand your question. How do I get the higher?
Can I interject a question, or is that?
I think you were sworn in as well, right?
I was not.
No, you were not. Okay.
You swear.
I am. So I'm just the sister.
Need your name for the record.
I'm sorry, I'm Janice Van Meerveld, and I am Kristen's sister, also a Lake Vista resident who has followed this closely. Assessor Shahardi, it sounded like you were offering earlier perhaps a higher land value and then a lower
Yeah,
house
only
value.
only because of the appraisal that she mentioned.
Right,
Uh,
so if we're gonna end up in, say, the 450 range, one way or the other, it would certainly behoove my sister, I think, to have a higher land value and a lower house value. And so I was wondering if you could reiterate your offer in that regard, because going forward,
Well-
the land values are gonna go up and her house value is just gonna continue to fall.
Yeah,
along with the house.
well, what I said was based upon the appraisal that you said that you had gotten in 2019, that your appraiser, and correct me if I misstated, came up with a value for the land of $400,000 and a value for improvements of $70,000 for a total value of $470,000. So while we do tend to try to keep the land values consistent with what the assessor has done, and I will admit that a lot of those land values that he has are low. I will admit that. But if you have a residential piece of property, if it's a residential piece of property, and we have the overall value that we believe to be a correct value, if the land goes up, the improvements go down. If the land goes down, the improvement value goes up, because one offsets the other. So, I mean, I would be willing to, if that's what makes you comfortable, is putting the land at 400,000, which actually is, very close to what our appraiser valued the land at. He valued it at $375,000. So,
Now, the assessor left it at 281 for
Yeah.
2021.
right.
So if you did the land at 400, I mean, obviously right now, if, with the reassessment for 2020, she's only at 448. So if we did land at 400, we certainly wouldn't want to exceed 448. That's kind of her worst case scenario
Sure.
going forward.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we, give me a second here.
Sure.
And he's got 4. If we were to take that $448,900 value that he has for 2021, which is showing up on his roll, and then to get to that number, value the land at $375,000 and the improvements at $73,900. That would give us that $448,900.
I accept that.
Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. All right. Now, I will tell you, make sure you keep checking his website to make sure something doesn't change, okay?
All right.
So just, be aware of that, because if he does something different, you may have to do this process all over again,
Right,
okay? And we can't control that,
right.
okay? All right, so why don't you all have a seat, and let's hear from our appraiser.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Bennett, sure.
See, I personally appraised the property at $470,000 with an indicated land value of $375,000 and an improvement value of $95,000. This was derived through the market approach for both the land and the total improvements plus land. Alternatively, our condition rating was taken from the appraisal submitted by the taxpayer, who the appraiser listed the property in a C3, which is a UAD condition rating, which is one of Fannie Mae's pre-formatted ratings, which is basically an above average, C1 being the highest, brand new property, C2 being a good condition property, C3, so forth all the way down to C6 being a non-habitable property. Alternatively, there was some inconsistencies found in this appraisal, just looking through it. On the actual cost approach breakdown, he has the opinion of site value as $407,000 with a depreciated cost of improvements at $132,640, bringing the grand total to $539,640. Whereas on his cover sheet, he has the $407,000 land in the $63,000 improvements. So I'm not sure which one is the correct, but just wanted to know there was some
Okay.
inconsistent information there.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? In line with what I was suggesting, I'd like to make the motion that for 2020, we value the land at $375,000, value the improvements at $73,900, for a total value, fair market value for 2020, $448,900.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Hold on one second. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, for 2020, did you say 435, or would you say the 448?
I'm sorry, I don't know what I
You
said.
said 448.
Okay.
And math added up, so you might want to do the math.
I thought 2020.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to, we're trying to get in line with what the value is gonna be for 2021. Am I correct with that? Or what did I say?
We talked about two
Yep.
different things, I believe. I think we talked about 436,000, and we talked about 448,000.
Yeah.
448,900.
What's that?
448,900.
That's what we just said. That's the value.
Yeah, what you agreed on was $375,000 for the land, right?
Right.
And $73,900 for the improvements. And that would be the full $48,900.
I thought it was going to be 430. I thought we had said 435.
We threw a lot of numbers around.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Okay? All right, very good.
Where was I?
We didn't vote.
Oh, we hadn't done the roll call. So I need a second.
I'm sorry.
I seconded it.
Okay. Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Is Hilda Kluge here? Is that? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all right. All right. All right, the next item on the appeal agenda, you may need to be sworn in.
I do. And it's Susan Birkenstock on behalf of the, I do.
All right, the appeal of Hilda Kluge versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-096. Please state your name for the record so we have it.
Susan Birkenstock, Burkenstock.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm here to discuss the property located at 5845 Milne Boulevard in Lakeview. I've submitted a response, and attached to which are a number of exhibits, which I'm happy to go through. But in the interest of time, let me summarize that I believe that what my request is that this property be appraised instead of at $230,000 for the lot only, and it is a vacant lot, to $210,000. I was the year before, this property was assessed at $165,600. It went up 40% to $230,000. The property is in the first block of Milne, which is a 2-mile street running from Interstate 610 to Robert E. Lee. So this property is approximately 5 lots from the giant sound barrier retaining wall that abuts the side of Interstate 610. The comparables used by the LTC appraiser are a half a mile away, a mile away, much nicer areas of the Boulevard of Milne.
And where is it located, the lot located again?
The municipal address is 5845 Milne.
No, but I mean physically you said something,
It's about 0.1 miles from that retaining wall, that
Okay.
sound barrier wall. And if you're looking at the documents that I submitted, B1 of 2 is from directly in front of the house, and the trees that you see in the distance, and it's kind of dark, but you can a little bit see that that's the retaining wall to 610. The exhibits that are in A show the actual lot. It's a 50 by 184. Exhibit B shows the distance to the sound barrier wall. Exhibit C shows the house right next door. That's an example of what some of the houses, that is the worst house on the street. Exhibit D shows another house on the street. And Exhibit E is a red house that is 2 lots from this house. So there's this vacant lot, the one that's in very poor condition, which is occupied by a very elderly woman. I'm sure there's some kind of freeze, or maybe, I don't know. I used to know her, but I haven't spoken to her in decades. But she's elderly, she still lives there, and this red house is right next door to it. This red house, on the same exact size lot, sold last year for $355,000. The LTC appraiser values the lot in question at $331,200. So you could either get a house and a lot for $4,000 more than the LTC appraisal appraised this lot. There are some other inaccuracies with the LTC appraisal, one of which is the fact that it represents that it is an irregular shaped lot. It's not. It's 50 by 184. Another is that it's largely covered by concrete. It's not. There's a photograph at B2, I believe. No, sorry. Where I am standing in front of the piece of concrete, which is about the size of this chair. So that's inaccurate. And the LTC Commission appraisal also states that it is entirely surrounded by fencing. It is not. There's no fence in the front, there's no fence in the back, there's a partial fence from the ramshackle house next door that's chain link, but it's really only maybe about, I'm gonna guess, I didn't measure it, 40 to 60 feet. There is a fence on one side. So I call into question, although the LTC appraisal states that the person who appraised it personally appraised it and actually visually inspected it, this can't possibly be the correct appraisal for this property. Then I turn to the comparables that are listed, and I attach photographs of the houses in the blocks where those comparables are located, which are half a mile to a mile away from the property in question. As you can see from B2 of 2, you see the retaining wall is circled. You see in red where I've shown the house, the lot that is in question, Cooley's lot. And then you go down to the further exhibits, which show that are L, M, and N, which show houses on the streets where the allegedly comparable lots are located. I submit that these lots are not comparable at all because it's location, location, location. In addition, during this whole process, the three-step process of rebuking the assessment originally, I happened to pull the Realtor.com site for a lot that's literally around the corner from this house. It is within feet. And the people that owned that lot, which was the same, relatively same size square footage, were asking the same square feet same dollars per square foot, $25 a square foot, which is the $230,000 assessed value. That was listed for that price for at least 215 days. It did not sell. It still has not sold. It may have been listed for more than that, but that available information is no longer available to me. Sometime last year, we were approached by a potential purchaser. I include his email communication with me where he offered me his highest and best offer of $175,000 for the lot, which we refused. I will grant you that I don't agree that the appraisal should still be at $165,600, but $230,000 seems out of line to me. And let's see if there's anything else I want to specifically cover.
If he offered you 175 and you were willing to take it, what was your asking price?
It wasn't.
No, you wasn't willing to take it, but what were your,
We didn't have it listed.
oh, okay, did you, but he,
We entered it, he had contacted me, we went into negotiations, so I said, well, what are you willing to offer? He said
so
75.
you didn't have an asking price?
No,
But it was greater than 175,
well,
if you had one?
clearly.
So what would it have been?
My submission to you is that I believe, just based on what I'm seeing here and in the neighborhood, that something in the $210,000 range is appropriate. And that would be a square foot value of $22.83 a square foot. I don't know what to think of the LTC appraisal, because if it's truly valued at $331,200, and you were looking for a house on that block, would you buy a lot worth $331,200, or would you buy a house 2 doors away, the same size lot, for $355,000, complete with a brand new house? Like, what is that?
The
Yeah.
problem is there are probably not that many lots for comps, comparable sales.
I get
in
that, but
area.
there was no
Yeah.
reduction,
Yeah.
they didn't, there are lovely houses in the blocks where the alleged comps are located.
Yeah.
And to some extent, this neighborhood may get better, but it's never gonna be from here to there to that retaining wall.
So we
That's
gotta-
never gonna
So the
change.
retaining wall kind of impairs it from,
If I was gonna, my preference of what I wanna live between Harrison and Fillmore, or in the first block off of I-610, who would wanna live there? It's literally living on the interstate. There is the retaining wall.
so that didn't improve the area, you still have the noise of the interstate still.
Yeah, and you
impeding.
still have that giant, you still have that giant wall there.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I've pretty much covered everything
All
in
right.
my submission.
All right, well, let's hear from our appraiser.
But you're requesting 210, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that would be appropriate. I did not have it appraised separately, because why am I spending money on that?
Yeah.
See, I personally appraised the property at $331,200, using the sales comparison approach, using 3 unimproved land sales. The narrative, I guess, in question appears to just be some erroneous language that made itself in the report, but doesn't appear to have impacted the actual adjustments or final reconciliation of value, given the scope of the amount of appeals in Orleans Parish. was a large volume of properties to analyze. So that information must have made its way somewhere in that process.
Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you.
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, please do.
We've had other appeals that have had some obsolescence issues similar to this with the view of interstates or being in the proximity of some type of sound barrier. I would move that on docket 19-22172-096, that we set the fair market value of the land at $210,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Just give me a moment, folks. All right, the next item on the docket we'll take up is item A, the appeal of Beau LeBlanc versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-043. Have to be sworn in.
Good afternoon. You guys ready?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm making a uniformity argument with respect to my house. I purchased it, it's in Lakeview on Vicksburg Street, which is the street running parallel to Canal, closest to the Marconi side. I'm in between Fillmore and Porteous. So I wasn't very familiar with how the property tax situation worked until this all came about. And so what happened is the Orleans Parish Tax Assessor simply used my purchase price from my November 18 sale, which I'm not disputing. I bought it for that willingly. No one would have gone to my head. So I started looking around my neighborhood and my street, and I noticed that my house was way out of whack with everyone else, or the vast majority of folks. I believe one house across the street had a recent sale, and they also, it's probably the same person, came, they didn't look at anything, and just used the purchase price. However, I did subsequently look up the sales from like a 6-month period, and I believe I found like 25 houses in the immediate area, and about 3 of the 25 were assessed at the purchase price. There was no reasons that I could discern from the way that they did it, and truly I don't understand their methodology. But so what I did was, and what I'm presenting to you guys is, I had done a spreadsheet, and it should be in the packet that I mailed, and then I emailed an updated spreadsheet this morning. I don't know if they had a chance to print it out for you all. But it lists 19 properties on Vicksburg. There's one on Fillmore, which is at the corner of Fillmore and Vicksburg. And what I did was I took my 8-year-old and we walked down about 5 of the blocks, and I took pictures of, because my house was built like 12 years ago. It's a decently nice house for the neighborhood. It's, for that age, it doesn't have much, wrong with it. So what I did was I walked down the street and I tried to find other houses that, there's some less, older houses or smaller houses, and I ignored those. And I took pictures of every house that looked about as good as mine or bigger and better than mine. And I went and looked, I wrote them all down. I took a picture of them. You can see the addresses in most of the pictures, but I had labeled them. And I went and looked them up. And then what you guys already know is all the lots on Vicksburg and throughout most of that little, that Lakeview area bounded by, Robert E. Lee and Marconi and, Canal are of all the same size, okay? Unless people bought double lots or neighbors bought a lot and then halved the lot, and some of them did that. So if you look at my spreadsheet, you'll see the land value for all these houses is $152,500, okay? So I went on the tax assessor's website, I made this spreadsheet, I took the building value for each one of the houses, and then I took the square footage. My initial square footage on my house was listed incorrectly. They subsequently came out, remeasured it, confirmed the square footage was what I said it was, but made no adjustment to mine.
And what's the correct square footage?
The correct square footage is 3173. They initially had it at 3404. Moved it down to 3174, I think, 3173, 74, who cares? But made no adjustment to the price. They did call me a few months ago and offered me a lower amount to settle my appeal, and I declined.
What was that amount?
I think it was like $690, something like that. So what I'm asking for is, again, I'm referring to this spreadsheet. I took the building values. I have 19 houses listed here. They're within the immediate vicinity of my house. You can either trust me or look at the pictures that I sent to see whether they appear to be comparable in age and quality to my house. I took the building value, I took the square footage for each house, I divided it, came up with an average square footage, okay? An average tax assessment per square foot.
On the improvements?
Yes, on the structure.
Okay,
Improvements, I think
Right.
we called it building value on the
That's fine.
website.
and what was that number that you came up with?
So the average for these 19 houses was $128.88. So what I'm asking for is, I'm not going to try to recreate the process in which they value the land, although I think we all know that that's low. But I'm not here to change everyone's assessments. So if you take 3173 square feet times my house by 128.88, that comes up with 408,936 building value using the established land value of 152,500. That would be a total of 561,436. And that's what I'm asking
And give me so the overall, the full value that you're asking for is what?
561,436, or round it off wherever you guys don't care. But-
All right, let me tell you what I did. I went in on Vicksburg,
Yes, sir?
and I went and looked at the several homes, several properties there from the assessor's website. I started at 6601, and I ended up, well, went through a bunch of them, kind of, one house to the next, okay? And I pulled about 22 comps.
Okay.
And I've got listed in front of me what my arithmetic works out to when you look at price per square foot and that sort of thing. Then what I did was, I came in and I said, okay, your property was approximately 3,173, 74 square feet.
Yes,
So I
sir.
looked at other 3,173, 74 square foot properties. Now, obviously, not everyone's exactly that amount, but there were several that, of the ones that I had pulled, around 3,300, 3,100, 3,000, 3,100, 3,200, 3,400. So it's all in the ballpark of where of the size of your
Well,
home.
then I'd be very surprised if we didn't have a bunch of the same houses on
Yeah,
our
but
list.
we probably do,
If you can-
Anyway,
Do
so
you
I
have,
pulled
sorry, do you have
those.
this?
No, I don't have that.
Okay.
But I pulled those out, I looked at the values, and basically, when I looked at the average and the median price of those properties, I come up with a range of about $131 to about $148 between median and average, which is kind of a large range, to tell you the truth.
Well,
But-
I'd be surprised because I did that myself, and I have the numbers in front of me.
Well, the ones that I have that I've done, I come up with looking at the average and the median, I come up with about an average of about $139 a square foot on the improvements, which would put, using the square footage and keeping the land value at what the assessor has, would put the full value at $594,000, which is close to what you have. It's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
your
we have a-
number,
What
but it's
you
close.
came up with is a $10 difference from
Yeah.
the price per square foot, which, you know, I think mine is more representative because I put a lot of work into going down these
Well,
streets and
trust
picking these out.
Trust me, I didn't put this together while I was watching the cartoon
Okay.
on TV.
I'm sorry, I'm not suggesting that you are, I was physically
I
there.
got called to dinner twice while I was doing this.
Well, I appreciate
No,
your
no,
time,
no problem.
looking at
That's-
this, to be
that's what we're
honest
here
with you.
for.
You would be
So-
the first person that gave it any
Yeah.
consideration whatsoever.
Well, I think we're gonna give it due consideration. I mean, if we came up with a value, somewhere between your number and my number, would that be satisfactory to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Didn't you originally request around 588,000?
Yeah, 588 is the
So-
original
So, I mean,
request.
y'all within $5,000 of each
Yeah.
other. I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah, well, what I did was, because I was talking to people who would not listen to a uniformity argument. They told me I've had several people tell me, including the people that I appealed to at the Algiers courthouse, the people at Delgado, that the Orleans Parish would not listen one iota to a uniformity argument. So what I did was, I averaged, sorry, my mask is on. I averaged, I forget what it's called, but I had somebody do a comparable estimate, and then I averaged the two. My number actually went down. Part of the reason that that my survey of the tax assessments went down was because actually a few of these houses, or a good handful of these houses, were reduced through the appeals process. That's why it changed the number. So
I got
you're talking about people that may have been 135, and then it got reduced down. I mean, I'm seeing a
When you say
32,
through the appeal process, through the, by the board of review?
probably before that, sir. I don't know exactly. It was
So
earlier.
your original spreadsheet had it at 133.70.
Correct. And then
And
when
you-
I
and you-
went and ran the same houses,
There had been some adjustments to
correct.
them.
It went down to 128.88.
Could that be the 2021 values, or
No,
you
sir.
look at 2020?
Yes, sir. I did this. You'll see, you can see this number is the same as in the cover letter that I sent months
Yeah.
ago with my
And
package.
you have all Vicksburg addresses but Fillmore, right?
Right, because the Fillmore one, I was walking down, it's so egregious. I mean, I know we're not here to raise other people's things, but it's a double lot, manicured lawn mansion.
Yeah.
The property's currently assessed at, the building is assessed at, what is it? 296,000.
Looks
It
like
was
to me
assessed
that-
at 414,400, and then it got reduced to 296,500. So I don't know how that happened, but it is ridiculous. I mean, I suggest you go have a look at that house, but those,
Looks like it's
I don't
on-
want those people to never talk to me again.
Looks like it's on 3 lots.
Yeah, so they, whatever happened, I guess the folks were upset that the 3 lots were valued at 457.
Wow.
And then, now the structure is valued at 296, which is a 3,200 square foot premium. I mean, it's a gorgeous house. I'll buy it for that price, 870, gladly.
I understand.
If they want to sell it to me.
Um,
So
I think maybe
bottom line,
maybe we
I-
could strike a happy balance.
Yeah, I was saying 129, you said 138, if you want to meet in the middle of that.
Yeah. I'm
good
just
enough
looking
for
at it,
me?
roughly in the middle would probably be about 575, would be in the middle.
Total value.
Total value, right, that's correct. Oh, yeah, it'd be total value, but 575, it'd be a little bit more than what your calculation is, and obviously more or less than what I have. So it's kind of a balance in both numbers.
I think that's reasonable.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Let's hear from our appraiser, Mr. Lowry.
I appraised the property at 6629 Vicksburg, where we used a market approach and estimated and had an estimated fair market value of $710,000 with a undisputed land value of $152,500 and the improvements valued at $557,500.
Any questions? Thank you. Mr. Wagaspack?
Yeah, prepared to make a motion on docket number 19-22172-043. I will set the land value at 2020 valuation land at 152,500, 152,500. The improvements at 422,500 for a total of 575,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right.
Appreciate y'all's time.
No problem. Thank you for coming. I believe we have one more person who's here. Tracy Brooks? Okay. I'm sorry, Tracy Burks. Okay. I don't have my glasses on and I looked at it quick, so. Yeah, please do. And you may need to be sworn in as a witness. This will be the appeal of Tracy Burks versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-062.
You guys just want me to, you're going to ask me questions or tell you?
Yeah, please,
I'm
go
not
ahead
gonna-
and-
I'm
go
not
ahead.
going to present the way everybody else did, I'm sure.
No. Go
Okay.
ahead and tell us about your property.
Okay, I'm Scarlett Burkus, and I'm at 4173 Toulouse Street. And the most recent appraisal that I have on the property is for $280,000. And that does not include, and I sent that in the email, so the appraisal's in there from September 14th, 2018. So it
And how much was
doesn't,
that appraisal for?
$280,000.
And what year was that? What month and year?
2018,
2018?
September 14th, 2018,
So September of 2018.
yes.
Okay.
So I sent that in, and I was contacted by someone who was contracted through the state, so I sent that appraisal in, and I informed him that I have major damage on the property outside and, well, more outside than interior. So I got estimates on all the damage for the property, which totaled $61,105. So I wanted to reduce that damage plus the estimates I'm waiting on to value the property closer to,
Is this damage that occurred after the
This-
appraisal? Or was this damage in
this
place?
is, so at the end of the appraisal, so I'm trying to figure out how to present it the way the appraisal was. So at the end of the appraisal, he listed all of the things that I needed to do improvements on, and I went and got estimates for that.
So did he,
And then I explained the same thing to the state guy, and I sent that to him as well. So I'm looking at if it appraised at 280, and I have $61,000 worth of repairs to do, which, when I looked at the estimates, it was pretty reasonable. It didn't seem like anything, out of the ordinary, except maybe the gutters were a little double the price, because I called someone who was real reputable and local. But I see the land values doubled since 2018, a little more than doubled. I don't know, I mean, I don't have control over the land value, I'm sure. I'm not trying to debate the value of the land. What I'm trying to debate is I want to deduct the repairs that I have to make on the house from the improvement portion of it. So I think once I get the plumbing, the electrical, and the termite inspection done, I think I'm looking at maybe $10,000, $8,000 to $10,000 more, so I'm thinking about $72,000 worth of repairs that I need to do on the house. If you look close at the pictures and the estimates, there's sill damage on the right side, the gutters have not been replaced properly, so they fell down, and you can look on the sides of the house, and I pretty much have to put new siding on the sides of the house.
I think his appraisal takes into account the needed and deferred maintenance. He talks a lot about the outside of the home, the siding,
Mhm.
paint, roof, gutters, living room.
So since then,
So he should have reflected that in his appraisal
Should have.
value.
yeah, I don't feel like it's reflected to be worth what he's saying that it's
When he
worth.
says unfinished room,
That's the least to me.
You
The
know,
big
all
thing is the
kind of stuff.
outside.
no,
Yeah.
he gives a lot of thorough pictures of the damage too.
There's pictures. I sent additional pictures too, so that
Yeah,
was
maybe that's all we're
2018.
looking at.
Now what I have is damage that's interior through the kitchen because the walls the structure of the siding is missing on the outside. So every year I'm doing a little at a time to repair. I've replaced all the windows, I did a new column on the front of the house, I still have more of that to do. But the reason
So what are you asking?
I'm asking to deduct what I got in true estimates from the $280,000 appraisal.
And what's that total?
She said 60 to 75,000 earlier.
It's 61,105. That doesn't include plumbing, which is not going to be, it's not major plumbing, but I do have to put a whole room together. I have one room that's completely not finished, which would be a bathroom. And I have a termite inspection I need because of the and you should have a picture of that also. I don't know if it's old damage or new. And also, I haven't gotten my electrician's appraisal from him. And I don't think that's going to be major because after Katrina, I did that. But I know there are things that have to be fixed that weren't done properly. So, I mean, I don't have my calculator, but if I can get it if you want me to.
Your appraiser, if the damage, if the repairs were obvious in there, and it looks like some of these pictures that you submitted,
My pictures are the current pictures.
yeah, that
Yeah.
it does show work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
That should have been a consideration in his appraisal.
I don't,
You know,
I mean, when I had the guys come out and look at everything, I don't feel like it was reflected in his appraisal.
Okay, well,
Because, and then the land,
professionally, it should be.
Yeah, I mean, unless something developed since that appraisal, such as
well, go ahead.
leaking or,
That's what,
you know.
well, that's the
I
problem.
mean, can you quantify that? Is that 10, 15,000 additional?
So
since the appraisal?
what's developed is, I think he took into consideration, and I'm not, saying it's a bad appraiser, I would not have provided it. But what he didn't realize was that there was sill damage on the back right-hand side of the house. And now I have it covered with Visqueen to try to prevent water from coming in, because I don't want to I'm trying to debate where I start when I'm doing one thing at a time, because I'm doing this by myself. So the interior of the house, there's a hole, complete holes, 2 holes from outside to inside. That's why I have it covered with the plastic. And there are holes where some rodents can get into the attic as well. So I have a couple of leaks in that way. There were leaks in the hallway. It's a hallway closet, the end of my hallway, and what should be, it's an empty room, which should be a second bathroom that has not been there since pre-Katrina. So all of those ceilings and walls are also having to be replaced and fixed. And I'm doing it a little at a time, but I can't do everything at one time. It's just, I've already replaced the windows. I replaced one column. I probably need to replace some border of the other columns of the front of the house. The front siding of the house has been repaired as well. The front roof has been repaired, the front of the house, not the roof. The top and the actual part where my doors are, that's okay, other than being painted and, sealed again.
The appraisal you got done was not,
It was before I got the estimates. I just got I started working on estimates 3 months ago.
But you didn't get it actually for this appeal. That was not the purpose of your appraisal.
In 2018?
Yes.
No. I don't think, no, I was getting it anyway, yeah,
Okay.
I had to get it. And I had to get estimates to see what I had to do to repair it, because it's a lot. I mean, and I didn't look up comparables, but I've been in my house for 20 years, and I'm not going anywhere, but I know what the house next door looks like inside compared to mine and outside. I know every house that surrounds me, so I know what the value will be when I finish. I love my
So-
house, I don't want to leave, so.
Yeah, yeah, look, so looking at your appraisal, I think he's reflecting a lot of the damages, but there probably has been maybe another 20,000 that has occurred since then, to be fair. So,
I mean,
I
technically,
really
I'll
don't see
paint it
this-
myself in the inside. I'm not worried about
Yeah.
those things that were attached. I'm
I
not
just
trying to.
I can't see us going below 260 unless our appraiser indicates something that he didn't do that quite reflect what he did, because he's coming in at 290, and I think he has pictures associated with deferred maintenance, et cetera. So I know he's kind of looked at your property as more of a fair instead of good or excellent condition, so I think he's made the proper adjustments.
But he was not able to go inside.
I mean, I wish he could come inside, because I have plumbing that I couldn't even get the
More than
estimates
So
on.
that's
And
where
I'm
I'm
not
thinking-
saying I don't keep it the
No.
best that I can
So that's
keep
what I'm
it, but.
thinking, he's at 290, coming down to 260, I think compensates you for the additional repairs that he may not have seen from the interior. I don't know, which is half of your estimate.
Yes.
So put half of the estimate on the old appraisal,
Mm-hmm.
and we may consider giving you some more for, you know,
Okay.
follow the logic, I guess?
I absolutely
trying
do.
to-
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to make sure you're
I mean, it's not that I don't want, you know,
I'm
I
trying to
just
get
can't do
comfortable,
it
make you
quick enough.
comfortable.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. Well, let's hear from Mr. Lowry and see what
Okay.
he has to say.
You said-
I appraised the property at 4173 Toulouse Street. We used a fair market approach and estimated fair market value of $290,000 with an undisputed land value of $71,700 and the improvements valued at $218,300.
Did you drive by the property, or,
No, sir, this is during the COVID
okay,
stuff.
so you did not
we-
drive by the property, so
No, sir.
not necessarily reflecting some of the issues that Ms. Beckles talked about?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. We, when I was doing it, I had to go off the pictures that Ms. Scarlett
Okay.
provided to me.
Did you
and-
take those pictures into account when you
Yes,
did the
yes, sir.
appraisal? Okay. So you feel like your appraisal does reflect, at least from what you could see on the outside of the
Yes, sir.
property? Okay. All right.
I mean, I would even be willing to give you know, it's hard to get people over to the house. The fact that I was able to get the big one for the outside work was ridiculous. That's the first
Okay.
thing I went for. But I could get more.
Well, I think your appraisal and his appraisal's in the ballpark, and then his appraisal probably didn't reflect, maybe, like I said, another 30,000,
inside.
another 30,000 of the interior.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can do a good bit with 30,000, I would think, in your house, so.
Yeah, I'll keep it inside myself.
Mr. Wagasback, you have a motion?
Yeah, second. My motion on docket number 19-22172-062 would be to set the land value at $71,700, the improvement value at $188,300, for a total valuation of $260,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't have to do any, is that for, I'm confused with the years.
This is for 2020, sorry. I should have made
Yeah.
mention that in my motion.
Yeah, make sure you,
I mean, because I know I appealed one time and it.
You need to check your 2021 valuation. You may have to appeal that as well if they don't adjust it. That's online now, and the books are open to, I think, till,
August 17th, I believe, but
you
don't,
may have to,
So make certain.
your homework assignment is to go home tonight, get on the internet, and go look at your value that the assessor has.
Okay.
Okay? Sure. All right, where do we stand now? We got one more, and
And
your name? Your name? Oh, okay. Did not have you on the list as someone who was here.
I was just about to write you that note.
At the end of the list. Okay, all right. This is the appeal of Edward J. Lacoste versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-336. Mr. Lacoste, go ahead and tell us about your property.
Okay, prior to the 2020 assessment of the home, the house was assessed at $320,000 total, land and structure combined. It jumped to $526,000. So I went ahead and appealed to the city of New Orleans. I gave them three basic points. One, that I am right up against the 610, and I know we had people earlier talking about the sound barrier. I got no sound barrier, got a wood fence, right? So in all honesty, if you all have any influence who builds the sound barriers, I'll take one. I'd love to have one come down. But obviously, being right up against the 610, devalues the property, which was not accounted for in the Orleans Parish assessment. The second thing, now what I will say is that I was pleased to see in the state's assessment that they did specifically mention the location, and all the comparables are purposely right along Kenilworth Street along the 610. So I agree with the number that they came up at 390 for that reason. The one thing, though, that they did miss is the fact that there's a utility easement on my property. So although I have a 50 by 120 lot, there's really no backyard. There's a Bell South fiber optic station there, which takes up, I'm going to say, 15 by 30 foot area. So again, that's another detractor from the resale value of the property. So what I would say is, based on the 390, which does accommodate the location, I would think that another $20,000 would probably come off of that for the nuisance of being saddled with a utility panel in your yard. And what is a fiber optic panel? It's got a compressor on it. It's got a bunch of equipment. Every once in a while, not compressor, it's got a electric generator on it. So every once in a while, they come out and fire it up and test it and whatnot. So again, since that was not mentioned in the state's appraisal, I would think that's probably about another $20,000. So I'm asking, instead of what the state, I think, was offering at 390, I would say 370 would, all in, would be reasonable.
This generator you're talking about, is it on the property?
Yes, it is. There's an easement for, again, I should have brought the dimensions. I think it's 20 by 25, and it's an elevated platform. It's got a bunch of electrical equipment, and it's a fiber optic for Bell South to do the cable and the internet fiber optics that go to the neighborhood. And so you don't have a full use of the lot, so the lot really should be a lot less than any other lot in the neighborhood.
So they just basically took it. I mean, you're not leasing, are you leasing it to them or renting it to them,
It's,
space?
if I remember correctly, it was right after Katrina, and they were making it was a one-time payment of basically it reverts back to the property owner whenever the technology changes, but it's like a 100-year lease.
So
it's a prior owner, or did you get paid that?
I got paid that.
You got paid that?
Right.
and how much did you get paid?
At the time, I think it was around $15,000.
15?
Yeah.
And it's a 100-year lease?
Well, or until the technology changes. They can't put anything else on it. So I'm hoping that.
So you can't build on the
Oh,
property?
no, I can't build on their spot. I mean, it's occupied. It's physically occupied. As a matter of fact, I did send in the pictures of it.
Yeah, you got a structure on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but again, I was delighted that they really, looked at the I-10 or the 610 impact on the property and the lack of a noise barrier. But I did notice as I was sitting here that they failed to mention what I think is a very large detractor to the resale value of the property.
Okay. All right, have any questions? Let's hear from Ms. Butler. Let's hear from our appraiser.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
I appraised the property at 5800 Vicksburg, a total market value of $390,000, land value $152,500, and improvement value $237,500.
Did you take into account the easement that he's talking about, gentleman's talking about?
In the appraisal, no, sir.
Okay.
Would 20,000 seem reasonable based on 500 square feet of the land?
20,000 off of the.
Yeah.
It would if it was up on the market maybe, but, I mean, he still technically owns the land.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Well, Mr. Wagensback, you want to?
Yeah, taking into consideration the easement and maybe the devaluation as far as marketability of that property, I would set the land value at $152,500, the improvement value at $217,500 for a total of $370,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagensback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, sure. Mr. Wagensback, can you give me those numbers again?
152,500 on the land and 217,500 on improvements. Should be 370.
Okay. All right,
Yep.
have to go back to the top of the batting order. Item A, we've already concluded that was done. I think the next one in that list is item B, the appeal of Dawn Taylor versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-045. Does not appear to be anyone here on behalf of the property owner or the assessor's office. So let's go ahead and hear from our appraiser.
Dawn Taylor, 2329 Orleans.
I appraised the property at 2329 Orleans. We used a fair market approach and established an estimated fair market value of $200,000 with an undisputed land value of $22,500 and the improvements valued at $177,500.
Thank you. Have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move on docket number 19-22172-045 that the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal, $22,500 for land, $177,500 for improvements, for a total of $200,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagensback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, the next item, item D, the appeal of Mitchell Whitaker versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-050. The record reflect that there's no one here this afternoon on behalf of the property owner and taxpayer. Also no one here on behalf of the assessor's office. Let's go ahead and hear from Mr. Lowry, our appraiser.
I personally appraised the property at 5876 and 78 Orleans Avenue. We established this using a income approach and a market approach. And the fair market value that we came to was $377,000 with an undisputed land value of $144,000 and the improvements valued at $233,000.
Thank you. Do you have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to move on docket number 19-22172-050, that the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal, land at $144,000, improvement $233,000, for a total of $377,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Sharp?
Yes. All right, the next appeal, the appeal of Corey Falcon versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-056. Again, let the record reflect that there's no one here on behalf of the property owner or taxpayer. The assessor's office is not present either. So let's go ahead and hear from our appraiser, Mr. Lowry.
I personally appraised the property at 6858 Orleans. We used a fair market approach and established an estimated fair market value of $500,000 with an undisputed land value of $181,300 and the improvements valued at $318,700.
Thank you. You have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move on docket 19-22172-056 that we accept the LTC staff appraisal, set the 2020 value at $181,300 for land, $318,700 for improvements, for a total value of $500,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. Appeal docket item F has been continued. We'll move to appeal docket G. I'm sorry, that's the one we've already heard. Just heard that one.
It's
H, yes. All right, the appeal of Leone Realty LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-143. Again, let the record reflect that no one is here on behalf of the property owner, nor is anyone here on behalf of the assessor's office. So we'll go ahead and hear from Mr. Lowry again, how he appraised this property.
I appraised the property at 978 and 80 Porteous Street. I came to a fair market value of $415,000 with an undisputed land value of $271,900 and the improvements valued at $143,100.
Have a motion?
Docket number 19-22172-143.
Yes.
My motion is to set the 2020 evaluation at the LTC staff appraisal. Land, $271,900. Improvements, $143,100, for a total of $415,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. Appeal docket item I has also been continued. Move to docket J. The appeal of Richard Rachel Sidra LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, 19-22172-289. Again, let the record reflect no one here on behalf of the taxpayer or from the assessor's office. Let's go ahead and hear from Mr. Lowry about his appraisal.
Personally appraised the property at 3028 Vanville Street. We have a fair market value of $75,900 or $24 per square foot.
All right, thank you. And I see the assessor's office and the Board of Review affirmed the value at $47,400. What's the pleasure of the commission?
I would move on docket 19-22172-289 that we affirm the Parish Board of Review value, set land at $47,400 for a total of $47,400.
Second.
Commissioner Varcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, appeal item K, the appeal of Assessor Errol Williams versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-316. Again, no one here on behalf of the property owner or the assessor's office, so we'll hear from our appraiser.
Personally appraised the property, it's 6833 General Diaz Street. We have a fair market value of $525,000 with an undisputed land value of $228,800 and the improvements valued at $296,200.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move on docket number 19-22172-316 that the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal, $228,800 for land, $296,200 for improvements, for a total of $525,000.
Second.
Commissioner Varcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. Appeal item L, the appeal of Bradley Reese versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-023. Again, no one here on behalf of the property owner or the assessor's office, so we'll hear from Mr. Bennett regarding his appraisal.
I appraised the property at $591,000 with a indicated land value of $288,000 and an improvement value of $303,000.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move on docket 19-22172-023 that we accept the LTC staff appraisal, set the land value at $288. You know, I want to look at this again. Looks like there's a difference in the land value with the assessor.
Conformity issue.
Yeah, 180,000 is,
I want to make sure that
180 plus 410.
we got 411.
411.
411, I'm sorry. You're right.
I would move on docket 19-22172-023 that we set the land value at $180,000, the improvement value at $411,000 for a total value of $591,000.
Second.
Commissioner Varcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, the next item on the appeal docket, I believe, is item S, the appeal of 670 R.E. Lee LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-281. Again, there's no one here on behalf of the property owner or the assessor's office, so we'll ask Ms. Butler to go ahead and tell us about her appraisal.
I appraised this property at 670 Robert E. Lee Boulevard. Arrived at a fair market value of $320,267.5 for improvement, $52,500 for land.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jeffers?
I move on docket number 19-22172-281 that the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal. Land at $52,500, improvement $267,500, for a total of $320,000.
Second.
Commissioner Varcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. Appeal docket item T, I believe, has been continued. Am I correct on that?
That is correct.
Okay. T. Appeal item U, the appeal of Roy Karuba versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-287. Again, no one here on behalf of the property owner, no one here on behalf of the assessor's office, so we'll go ahead and hear about the appraisal from Ms. Butler.
This was vacant land located at 1912 Bienville. We estimated the market value at $70,600.
All right, I see the assessor's office, thank you, Ms. Butler. I see the assessor's office and the board of review confirmed the value of $44,100.
Is there a motion?
Yes, go ahead.
Docket 19-22172-287. A motion is for the 2020 valuation is to uphold the parish board of review on land only at $44,100.
Second.
Commissioner Varcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right. Appeal item appeal item V, the appeal of Assessor Errol Williams versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-314. Again, no one here on behalf of the taxpayer or the assessor, so we'll go ahead and hear Ms. Butler's, about Ms. Butler's appraisal.
We appraised the property at 409 North Tonti for a total estimated market value of $130,000, $95,700 for improvement, $34,300 for land.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and I see the Board of Review lowered the assessor's value, and our staff appraisal slightly higher than the Board of Review. I guess we uphold the Board of Review, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I move on docket number 19-22172-314 that the 2020 fair market value be set at the Board of Review recommendation land at $34,300, improvement $91,600, for a total of $125,900.
Second.
Commissioner Varcher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, appeal item W, the appeal of Scott St. Pierre versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22172-331. Again, nobody here on behalf of the property owner or the taxpayer. So we'll go ahead and hear it from Ms. Butler about her appraisal.
I appraised the property at 6823 Katina. I arrived at a total market value of $195,000, $115,000 for improvement, and $80,000 for land.
All right, thank you. All right, do we have a motion?
Doing a little math here, Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
As I'm doing some math, it appears that the Board of Review and the assessor's value on the land.
Yeah, the assessors $111,100, same as the Board of Review. Probably need to make an adjustment for that.
Oh, gee whiz. I'm just checking myself. I left out a one.
I have 111,100 and 83,900.
That's what I have.
Okay. Well,
I would move on docket 19-22172-331, that we set the land value at $111,100, the improvement value at $83,900, for a total value of $195,000.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat,
Yes?
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shawardi.
Yes. Tax Commission hereby accepts all pre-filed documents and oral testimony into the record as Taxpayer Exhibit 1 in Globo, Assessor Exhibit 1 in Globo, and Louisiana Tax Commission Staff Appraiser Exhibit 1 in Globo for each appeal hearing conducted today respectively. I believe that that clears the docket for today. Am I correct?
Motion to adjourn?
Yep, if I'm correct on the docket being cleared, is that correct?
Oh, yes,
Thank
we
you.
were just checking something.
Just
Yes, that is
wanna make
correct.
sure. Okay.
Second.
All right. I'm
Commissioner-
prepared for a motion to adjourn.
We had a motion and a second.
I'm sorry.
We got a motion
Oh, I thought we
and a
voted.
second. No,
You didn't vote?
I didn't do the roll call vote yet.
Oh, we'll do the roll call.
You're ready, huh? Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shawardi.
Yes. Now we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I thought that was
That
it.
was it.
That was it.
Huh?
That was it.
Oh, that
We're
was,
adjourned.
okay.